North Korea is a country shrouded in pure mystery, where truth is often hidden behind a wall of secrecy. With millions living under strict control, it's nearly impossible to fully grasp the harsh reality of daily life there. Visitors are rare, information is censored, and what we know is often a twisted version of the truth. But some brave souls have escaped, shedding light on the terrifying secrets the regime desperately wants to keep buried. In today's video, we'll uncover 15 most shocking truths about North Korea, secrets so dark that the authorities don't want you to know. Let's start with number 15. Child labor in North Korea. In North Korea, childhood is far from normal. With about 40% of the population living in poverty, children are among the most vulnerable to the harsh realities of life in the country. Widespread malnutrition, limited access to education, and the lack of basic rights make childhood in North Korea a difficult and often painful experience. Many children are forced into labor from a young age, contributing to the state's agricultural and industrial efforts. The government's failure to provide adequate food, medical care, and educational opportunities means that children suffer from illnesses like tuberculosis, malnutrition, and poor mental health. In some cases, they even die young from preventable diseases. With limited resources and no support systems, children in North Korea are frequently denied the right to a healthy, happy life. Instead, they are caught in a cycle of poverty and exploitation, forced to work in harsh conditions without any hope for the future. Number 14. Power cuts every night. North Korea, despite its military advancements, remains crippled by persistent power shortages. The country is so energy-deprived that nighttime satellite images show it as a vast, dark expanse, particularly compared to the bright lights of neighboring China and South Korea. Pyongyang, the capital, is known for its eerie darkness, with residents often relying on dim streetlights or solar panels to provide some light after dark. The country's energy grid is fragile, and blackouts are a daily occurrence, leaving many without electricity for hours. These outages affect everything from basic household activities to the operation of businesses and factories. The state-controlled power plants struggle to meet the demands of the population, and despite claims of modernization, the energy crisis persists, highlighting the stark contrast between North Korea's military ambitions and its crumbling infrastructure. It's a constant reminder of the dire conditions many North Koreans live under. Number 13. No laughing, no drinking, and no shopping. North Koreans live under the weight of extreme surveillance and rigid social control, with the government dictating nearly every aspect of their lives. The country enforces strict limits on what its citizens can do for leisure, including outlawing activities many take for granted in other parts of the world. There are no private businesses, no free markets, and social interactions are carefully monitored. The regime forces its people to work long hours in physically demanding jobs with little to no time for relaxation or enjoyment. Social life is governed by political obligations, including compulsory meetings, community service, and indoctrination sessions. For many, there is no escaping the control of the state. Although there is some limited development of the nightlife scene in Pyongyang, with bars and restaurants catering to foreign visitors, the majority of North Koreans are confined to a life of work, propaganda, and state-sanctioned activities. Personal joy, free will, and private expression are luxuries few can afford in this tightly controlled society. Number 12. Life in North Korean prison camps. North Korea's prison camps are some of the most brutal in the world, where prisoners face unimaginable horrors. The country operates a network of labor camps where tens of thousands of people are imprisoned for political reasons, including dissent, attempts to escape, or even possessing banned materials. These camps are notorious for their inhumane conditions. Forced labor, starvation, torture, and execution are daily occurrences. Prisoners are subjected to extreme physical punishment, forced to work long hours in dangerous conditions and endure systematic abuse. The regime's aim is to break their spirits, using fear and control to suppress any form of resistance. Some prisoners are even born into these camps, sentenced to a life of suffering from birth. These camps are hidden from the outside world, with few survivors willing to speak out. Those who manage to escape often reveal chilling tales of starvation, disease, and the constant threat of death, making North Korea's prison system one of the most horrific aspects of the regime. Number 11. Food shortage in North Korea. North Korea's food crisis has reached alarming levels, and the situation continues to worsen year after year. Despite the country's claims of self-sufficiency, experts and analysts have long warned of a precarious food supply. Recent reports show that the nation's crops are in decline, largely due to a combination of poor economic management, harsh international sanctions, and devastating natural disasters. The situation worsened during COVID-19 when North Korea closed its borders to prevent an outbreak, severely hampering the import of goods, including food. China, North Korea's main supplier, has had to step in with significant humanitarian aid, but even this has not been enough to stave off hunger. While the regime spends millions on expanding its nuclear capabilities, it struggles to feed its population. Each year's harvest is uncertain, and the country faces dire food insecurity, with many families relying on food aid or meager rations of rice, corn, and potatoes. The looming threat of famine remains a harsh reality for many North Koreans. Number 10. The worst airline in the world. Air Koryo, North Korea's state-run airline, has earned a notorious reputation as the worst airline in the world. With a fleet of just over 20 Russian-built aircraft, it serves a limited number of international routes, including China, Russia, and a few European countries. Despite its limited operations, Air Koryo consistently receives the lowest ratings from airline critics. Its service is characterized by outdated planes, poor customer service, and a lack of amenities that travelers expect from international carriers. Flight attendants are polite, but operate in a highly controlled, almost robotic manner, and onboard entertainment often consists of state propaganda films. The airline is infamous for its revolutionary in-flight music, which adds to the surreal atmosphere of traveling to one of the most secretive countries in the world. For those brave enough to fly, the experience is more of a historical curiosity than a comfortable journey. Number 9. Parents must provide desks and chairs for their children. In North Korea, education comes with an unusual and burdensome requirement. Parents must supply their children with desks and chairs for school. While tuition fees cover basic education costs, the government does not include classroom furniture, forcing parents to shoulder this additional financial burden. This can be especially difficult for families already struggling under the weight of the country's economic hardships. The furniture must be paid for separately, and the lack of state support in this area reflects the broader austerity measures in the country. To make matters more challenging, some students are also tasked with performing labor for the government, such as collecting trash. These tasks serve as a reminder that the educational system in North Korea is not just about learning. It also reinforces the regime's focus on discipline, hard work, and state service from an early age. Number 8. The 3-generation punishment rule. One of North Korea's most chilling laws is the 3-generation punishment rule, which holds entire families responsible for the actions of a single individual. If a person is caught committing a crime, the law dictates that not only the offender, but also their children and grandchildren must suffer the same punishment, often leading to life imprisonment or even death. This rule is grounded in the idea that one's bloodline carries the stain of criminality. The policy, introduced in 1950, was designed to eliminate any potential for rebellion or counter-revolutionary sentiment by eradicating entire family lines deemed guilty. In many cases, this has meant that children born in prison camps grow up never knowing freedom, continuing the cycle of punishment across generations. So, if you do something wrong, your whole family will be punished, from your children to your grandchildren. We mean, how on earth is this even justified? Now let's move to Number 7. There are only 3 TV channels. North Korea enforces strict control over its media, and one of the most visible signs of this control is the country's limited access to television. North Koreans are allowed only 3 state-run TV channels, a number that ensures the government can tightly monitor and censor the information people receive. These channels broadcast only content that aligns with the regime's propaganda, keeping the population isolated from outside influence. Foreign broadcasts are blocked, and even imported televisions are modified to prevent access to international channels. This restriction on media access is part of a broader strategy to maintain ideological control and prevent exposure to alternative perspectives, especially from South Korea or the West. Number 6. You might be held captive for being creative. In North Korea, creativity is not just discouraged, it can be dangerous. The regime's strict control over its citizens extends even to the arts, where anything deemed to be unapproved creativity can lead to punishment, including imprisonment. The story of how the North Korean government abducted a famous South Korean director and his wife, a movie star, highlights the extreme lengths the regime will go to ensure its control over artistic expression. The couple was forcibly taken to North Korea in the 1970s, where they were forced to make films for the government's propaganda machine. In some cases, people with artistic talents like musicians or filmmakers are kidnapped and coerced into producing content that praises the regime. It's North Korea, any and everything is possible. Number 5. Blue jeans are banned in North Korea. Blue jeans are forbidden in North Korea due to their association with American imperialism, a symbol of the West that the regime seeks to eliminate. North Korea has instituted strict dress codes, enforcing uniforms that eliminate individuality in public life. Wearing blue jeans is considered a symbol of Western influence and rebellion against the state. Those caught defying these regulations face punishment, which includes forced confessions and detention. The government continues to crack down on the youth who attempt to emulate Western fashion trends, especially after watching foreign films or listening to music from outside the country. Despite the ongoing repression, young people in North Korea continue to challenge these restrictions, yearning for a sense of individuality that the regime desperately tries to suppress. Number 4. The country has its own basketball rules. In a bizarre twist, North Korea has its own version of basketball. While the NBA operates under internationally accepted rules, Kim Jong-un, a known basketball enthusiast, has implemented his own set of regulations. For example, dunks are worth 3 points instead of 2, and missed 3-point shots count as 4 points. In the final 3 seconds of a game, a basket is worth 8 points. These unique rules make the game more entertaining by North Korean standards, but also serve to enhance Kim Jong-un's personal influence over every aspect of life, even the sports people enjoy. It's said that Kim has NBA standard basketball courts in his palaces, and he's even hosted former NBA player Dennis Rodman for several high-profile visits, making basketball one of the few international sports embraced by the regime. Number 3. Elections with only one candidate to choose from. In North Korea, elections are far from democratic. Every 4 to 5 years, citizens are called to vote for the Supreme People's Assembly, which is essentially North Korea's legislature. But voters are presented with only one candidate, no competition and no choices. The ruling Democratic Front for the Reunification of the Fatherland handpicks all candidates, ensuring that the Workers' Party of Korea remains in control. Voter turnout is reported to be near 100%, but this is more of a political census than a genuine election. Those who dare to vote against the official candidate or abstain face severe consequences, including the loss of their job, home, and increased surveillance. These staged elections serve as a facade to maintain the illusion of legitimacy, but they are widely condemned as fraudulent and oppressive. No matter the result, the outcome is always the same: the continuation of authoritarian rule. Okay, now let's move to Number 2. You need government approval to live in the capital. In North Korea, Pyongyang is more than just the capital. It's a symbol of the regime's power and control. Citizens must obtain explicit government approval to live there, making it an exclusive city reserved primarily for elite party members and higher-ranking officials. Pyongyang's residents enjoy better living conditions than those in rural areas, but even here, strict surveillance and control are commonplace. Roads are frequently blocked to prevent unauthorized travel, and residents are subject to routine inspections. While foreign visitors might occasionally spot locals using cell phones or cameras, this is far from the norm. The capital, though home to 3 million people, feels eerily empty, with little traffic or pedestrian activity. This sense of isolation and surveillance underscores the regime's tight grip on its citizens, even in the heart of its political power. Number 1. Tourists cannot walk alone in North Korea. In North Korea, sightseeing isn't about wandering off the beaten path. It's about staying firmly on the government's leash. If you plan to visit, get ready for a guided experience where the only thing independent is your imagination. Tourists are not allowed to explore on their own. You'll have a government-approved guide with you at all times, ensuring your every move is supervised. Think of it as a 24/7 chaperone, but without the fun. Forget about hopping on a bus or sneaking into local spots. You'll be strictly confined to the areas your guide tells you are safe. Want to take a walk by yourself? Not happening. Even using public transportation is off limits. Step out of line, and both you and your guide could face serious consequences. It's like being on a school field trip, except the consequences for skipping the group are a lot more severe. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe. We'll see you in the next one.